matchup on NWA Main Event Wrestling. Al Jackson, the NWA Texas Heavyweight Champion, coming to the ring, accompanied by his manager, Mr. Steve Moody.
Introducing first, the West and 50 pounds, Al Jackson, goddammit! The Texas Heavyweight Champion!
Al Jackson handling his own introduction there. And I have all the empathy in the world for our cameraman who is assigned inside the cage. No telling what he's going to get into. As the fan favorite is on his way to the ring for this one. This steel cage Texas death match. As Action Jackson dances and struts his way to the cage. Referee Rick Manning handing the Texas Heavyweight title belt to an attendant at ringside as Al Jackson waits for Action Jackson to enter the ring, to enter the steel cage. And if I could talk to Johnny T right now, I would say as soon as you introduce Action, get the heck out of there. Moody running for his life from Action Jackson. If Action wins this match, he gets 5 minutes in the cage with Moody. And the fans would love to see that. Action Jackson, usually dancing all over the place, he did strut his way out to the ring, but he is very, very serious right now.
And the challenger, weighing in at 280 pounds, from Arkansas, Action Jackson!
And Johnny T hightails it out of the cage. Both men are in. Rick Manning calls for the bell, and this one is underway.
Once again, the only way to win is to escape the cage and touch the floor.
Well, whichever man does that will not be in very good condition to do much of anything else, and this is it. Fans have waited for this for a long time. Action Jackson has waited for this. Al Jackson has waited for this. Both men, both Jackson brothers, inside the steel cage for the Texas Heavyweight title. Johnny T, you made it out of there in record time.
Rob Moore, a very dangerous situation, being inside that steel cage. There's so much on the line. Not only Al Jackson's Texas Heavyweight title, Action Jackson's career is on the line if he loses the match, and Steve Moody's hide is on the line if Al Jackson loses this match.
Well, maybe Steve Moody has found religion. Maybe he's praying there at ringside that his man Al could somehow win this match and keep Steve out of that 5 minutes in the cage stipulation.
Well, I've got to think that Action Jackson is going to be super motivated to win this match. I don't think Action Jackson cares so much about the title. He wants to save his career. He's got a hatred for his brother Al.
I know, and as I've said many times before, it is so sad to see family problems get that deep, get that out of control, and this one to the point where they are inside the steel cage, Action against Al, and Action Jackson virtually daring Al to hit him, which he does, and Action strikes back, putting his brother down. Irish whip and a high drop kick by Action Jackson.
Big drop kick by the very agile big man, Action Jackson, a former multi-time Texas Heavyweight Champion himself.
And right now, Al Jackson back on the offensive. He is choking Action Jackson. Referee Rick Manning is outside the ring. He is outside the steel cage, and his job is to see that somebody gets out the cage door and goes all the way to the floor.
Chain in the ring. Steve Moody passed the chain to Al Jackson. However, it is Texas death match rules. Anything goes.
Unfortunately, that is true in this one. If Steve Moody wants to pass the chain to Al, he can do that.
Flat on the head with that chain, Rob. Al Jackson just nailed Action Jackson.
You might say Al gave Action a Jackson 5 right upside the head with that chain.
That's pretty good.
Been working on that all week. But this is serious business inside the ring as Al Jackson continues to work on his brother Action Jackson. Now throwing, I guess that was the remnants of Al's t-shirt. And now Steve Moody passing something else in there to Al.
So I guess you could say whoever hits the floor first will go on a victory tour.
And I believe that was Action Jackson's bandana, his do-rag, that came flying out of the cage, because Action is now without that bandana and perhaps a little more vulnerable to having his head thrown into the side of the cage.
Or maybe Action had it on to use it as a weapon later on in this bout. You never know.
Quite possibly, as Al Jackson stands triumphantly over his brother Action Jackson. Of course, the match continues.
There's no point being a nice guy in an anything goes match. Oh, Action Jackson is bleeding from the forehead.
Action Jackson has been busted open, his forehead meeting the cold steel of the cage.
He wears the crimson mask.
Indeed he does, and it is Al Jackson going to work on his brother again, throwing his face first into the steel cage, and that can only open up the wound further. And Action Jackson is in serious trouble right now.
You know, I gotta believe before this match is over, anytime you step in the steel cage, both men will probably have some type of open wound or multiple.
Steel cages are usually reserved for when a feud gets so out of hand that nothing else works, and I believe, Johnny T, that this feud falls into that category. They've tried everything else, and the only way that NWA Southwest promoter Ken Taylor has seen fit to bring this to a climax is to put both men inside the steel cage and let them go at it until somebody is bloody, until somebody is beaten, until somebody can literally not go on. And Action Jackson is a bloody mess.
Al Jackson has taken over. This feud has raged on for months, Rob Moore, as you know well. Oh!
And again, Action Jackson's forehead goes into the steel cage.
Like I say, this far surpasses the importance of just a title match. There's more than just the gold on the line. The belt is like a token in this bout. It's about revenge. It's about hatred. Careers are on the line here.
And as you saw in that camera shot just a minute ago, the mat already splattered with the blood of Action Jackson.
Man. And that's a dark blue mat. In order for that blood to show up on that blue mat, there's got to be a lot of it.
Yes, there is, and Action Jackson is bleeding profusely as his head is rammed into the side of the cage once again.
Brooke Manning closing that door.
Again, the only way to win this match is to leave the cage and land with both feet on the floor at ringside outside of the ring. That is the only way to win this match. You can go through the door, or perhaps one of these men, if they have the strength, can climb over the top and drop to the floor.
Well, I tell you what, Steve Moody thought he was so swift, he was so smart when he got Action to sign the contract that said if he lost the match, he would be out of NWA Southwest. But he wasn't so smart because Action had in that contract, if Al lost the match, Action gets 5 minutes with Moody in the cage, and I would love to see that.
I was the man in the middle of that contract signing just last week. And let me tell you something, when I read the fine print that Action Jackson had directed me to, Steve Moody, I swear I could hear his blood pressure shooting up about 500 points at the prospect of having to spend 5 minutes in the cage with Action Jackson. And look out, another chain thrown in by Steve Moody.
A chain has entered the ring once again. Steel mesh, we've got a chain in there. Two guys with a hatred for each other, brothers nonetheless. Al and Action Jackson. I guess you'd call that move the choke chain?
I suppose so. Al Jackson having what you might consider an unfair advantage here with the presence of Steve Moody and Moody's ability to pass foreign objects to Al through the cage. But steel cage, Texas death rules, like we say, anything goes, and there is nothing anybody, not even Rick Manning, the chief official in NWA Southwest, can do about it.
Oh, and Action Jackson is just a bloody mess at this point. Action Jackson is getting pounded in this match. Action should have had somebody come down ringside to watch his back, but he doesn't fight that way. He goes it alone, one-on-one.
Action Jackson, very confident in his abilities over the years, and time after time he has proven himself to be the better man, and he is out to prove it here in this steel cage as he fires back with some right hands and a right foot against his brother Al Jackson, and Al goes down, and it looks like Action Jackson is getting his second win. Action Jackson covered in blood, pounding away at his brother Al.
This is a Pier 6 brawl, Rob Moore. Just
Absolutely.
fists and elbows and blood and steel cage.
And it is Action Jackson receiving a kick from Al. Action reverses the Irish whip, throwing Al shoulder first into the side of the cage.
He's got him backed up in the corner. It's all Action Jackson at this point.
Action Jackson with hold of the legs, pulling Al out of the corner. And Action Jackson definitely getting his second win, feeding off the cheers of the fans here at the Texas Indoor Arena. And it is Al Jackson now down on the mat in pain.
You talk about this match to end a feud. The way this is going to end the career of one of the competitors, and not from a stipulation standpoint, but from a pure physical standpoint, Rob.
I guarantee you neither man will be the same after this slugfest, I can tell you that.
Oh, this
Action
feud,
Jackson.
this feud has taken so much out of both men.
Steve Moody trying to get a chair into the ring now, throwing it over the top of the cage for Al to use. This is totally unfair, but there's nothing anybody can do about it. Al Jackson hitting Action over the head. Action lays out Al with a chair.
10 minutes expired in the time limit. 10 minutes expired in the time limit.
Action Jackson's face is Gordon Soley's proverbial crimson mask, and he is mounting a comeback here against his brother, the NWA Texas Heavyweight Champion, Al Jackson. As Action winds up and knocks Jackson down again. Wait a minute, what's going on here?
Mac Daddy.
Mike Anthony has attacked Rick Manning outside the ring.
Wait a minute.
Gravedigger.
What did Rick Manning do?
I don't know. Mac Daddy attacked him, and now it's Mac Daddy and the Gravedigger slugging it out outside the ring.
Oh, jeez, everybody's out here.
Here comes the Blackbird Posse, and they're going to work on the Gravedigger.
Rob, why don't you go down there and help out the Gravedigger? I'll stay here and call the match.
Here comes the Beast. Here comes the Beast, and he's going to work.
Do you know this is a setup by Steve Moody?
It's got to be. No other explanation for it. Action Jackson coming over to the door now. He's pushing the door open. Look out, Steve Moody is outside the door. Al had a hold of Action's leg, keeping him from leaving. And look out, Uranage right in the middle of the ring. Action Jackson puts him down. Mac Daddy climbing in. Luscious Larry Lava has shown up at ringside. Action puts Mac Daddy down with the Uranage. Action Jackson going to work on Mac Daddy, Mike Anthony. Steve Moody is in there attacking Action.
Oh, Steve Moody wants none of this.
We may get that 5 minutes right now. And wait a minute, what's going on? Wait a minute, who's this at ringside?
Larry Lava's out here. I think the whole locker room is cleared out.
Wait a minute, is that who I think it is? That's, oh my God, no. Oh my God, inside the ring, Steve Moody thrown into the side of the cage. And meanwhile, some wild things going on at ringside. Action Jackson walking for the door. Al Jackson grabs him by the ankle.
Shoestring tackle attempt by Al Jackson. He knows if Action is free.
Jackson is going to leave the cage.
No!
Good Lord. Johnny T, that is Baboose. What in the world is Baboose doing here? Baboose has slammed the cage door.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Al's leaving the cage. Al Jackson is on the floor. Here's the first out.
Well, Rick Manning is down. Action Jackson.
Rick Manning does not see what is going on. He does not see Al Jackson on the floor outside the cage.
Action's career is over in NWA.
I don't believe what has just happened here. Where in the world did Baboose come from? Al Jackson remains the Texas heavyweight champion.
Al Jackson!
And Al Jackson is still the Texas heavyweight champion. Action Jackson's NWA Southwest career is over. And wait a minute, Baboose is in the ring. What in the world is he doing here? Baboose! What in God's name is he doing here? He's got no business here. He is not in NWA Southwest. Al Jackson hitting his brother over the back with a chair. Good Lord Almighty. Here comes Hot Stuff Hernandez. Hot Stuff in the cage, and now he's going up against Al Jackson. Hot Stuff Hernandez, who gets the next title shot. Running Steve Moody, Baboose, and Al Jackson out of the ring. Hot Stuff tending to Action Jackson. Oh my God.